very, very important to make sure that your students are good in each of these. And so you need to make lesson plans that address all 4 components of reading. So again, I think, let's see, this is a poll, isn't it, Nicole? I think, yes. So we'd like to poll you on how many of you teach your learner or learners phonemic awareness, word analysis, and so again, that's phonics and sight words, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So how many of you are doing this right now? You're working with your learners right now. So again, Nicole, is this that they can only choose one, or can they choose all?
Yeah, this one's a select one. Pull.
Okay, people are voting. Okay.
Okay, so I think most people have voted. Go ahead and close out the poll and share.
So, yep, this is exactly what I suspected. And so quite often a lot of people are, they know about phonics, they know about sight words, and they're working on those skills if their students have trouble sounding words out or with, syllables or that kind of thing. But phonemic awareness, not so much. A lot of people don't even know what phonemic awareness is, or, how to know whether your student lacks it, or how to increase your learners' phonemic awareness. And if your students aren't phonemically aware, they will have extreme trouble with phonics and sounding words out and understanding. Where'd it go? Understanding about how language works. And so a lot of you are actually doing that, which is really terrific. But I would encourage you to learn more about phonemic awareness because it could be that your learners lack some phonemic awareness. If your learner is really having trouble with word analysis and decoding skills and phonics, then it could be that there is a phonemic awareness issue. And there are some, pretty easy to access ways to address that we talk about in TutorReady. And then again, lots of folks are doing vocabulary, lots of folks are doing comprehension, not many people doing fluency. And again, fluency is very neglected, and it's incredibly important to comprehension. If you're not reading, most of the words accurately, then comprehension suffers. If you're reading in a monotone voice and word by word, comprehension suffers. If you're reading in a monotone and you're not getting all that phrasing and expression, comprehension suffers. So that's great. I would again encourage you to learn more about fluency, and we're actually going to watch a sample video on fluency later in the webinar that will give you a little bit of a taste for that. So thank you. That's really helpful to me, and that sort of confirms what really is happening across the country. So once you have finished the introduction in TutorReady, then this is what you'll see. You'll see this big picture graphic that is one of the ways that you can enter to TutorReady. So it illustrates some of the questions that you might have, and then there's questions, a sample list of questions that are associated with that particular component of reading. And so you can either look at all of the steps and all of the questions and answers for each component of reading, or you can pick and choose and say, you know what, I'm only interested in this particular thing. This strikes me as, you know, something that my learner is having problems with that I really would like to know now. So you can do it sequentially, you can jump around, however you want to do it once you get through that introduction. And so again, this is just a little bit of what you would see, and we'll go through the individual components one by one in a second, but this is what the alphabetic steps look like. So there is an introduction to each of the components of reading first that you do need to look at, and then there are some tutoring tips that are always helpful, but lots of different questions. So that's the read me first, which you must do. So for example, there's a question, how can I help my learner recognize the same sound in different words? And so once you choose that question, this is what comes up. And so you've got, again, you know, bite-sized text that really drills down to the most important things going on if your student is having trouble recognizing the same sound in different words. And so you'll see, you know, an answer to the question in bite-sized chunks. And then at the bottom of each page, you'll see where the arrow is pointing, where there is blue. You've got different resources here that you can click on to supplement what you've read in the text. And so for this one, you have like a sample little lesson on practicing phoneme identity using colors. Another one is on practicing phoneme identity using letter cards. And then there's also a video that you can watch. So we've tried to illustrate as many of the learning plan steps or topics with videos as we possibly can, and we'll talk about the videos and how they came about in a minute. This is one of the sample activities that you could download. And so when we talked to tutors, they really said, you know, it would be nice to see, you know, what a lesson looks like. And so we responded to that, and we made, we can always do more, I'm sure, but we made at least as many sample lessons as we possibly could. So once we had finished with the design and the development of TutorReady, we wanted to see how it was useful to actual learners and tutors. And so we did some pilot testing with programs in California and Colorado. And so we worked with partners in Reading in San Jose, and Read Santa Clara in Santa Clara, and Boulder Reads in Boulder, Colorado. And these are all library-based volunteer literacy programs. And so what we found was that people really, really liked them. They found that the learning plans really were relevant to their needs, that they were really, really easy to use and access. They especially liked the videos and the lesson plan, the sample lesson plans or descriptions of how do you put into place a strategy that has been described in the text. And they also found that they could immediately use the information that they found in the learning plans. And that was really great. We hoped that people would, you know, we wanted it to be just-in-time learning. And so you access the information and you put it into use immediately. And that's what people found. So again, you know, you've got the information, but this is where TutorReady can be accessed. And so I would encourage you to go and play around with it. And so now we're going to take a closer look at the TutorReady topics and the questions and answers in each of the components of reading. And so you have, as your third handout, you've got a handout that says TutorReady steps. And so you can see here, and I hope all of you can sort of look at the steps right now, because it can be a little bit hard to read in the screenshots. Because I'd like you to look at the questions, because I'm going to ask you if you think that these are relevant and you know, if we've sort of hit things and are on target with what you really want and need when you're working with your learners. So again, we start off with Phonemic Awareness, which is part of alphabetics. And so you can see, I'm not sure how many, I guess we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions and answers on Phonemic Awareness. And then we go to Decoding. Okay, and I hope you're able to follow along and sort of look at the different questions here. So, you know, how can I help my learner use letter-sound relationships to help her read better? And again, we have Fluency. So they all start with a read me first introduction, and then they all have tutoring tips at the beginning. And you'll see that there, after the questions, there is always a last question, which is, how can I expand my knowledge? And so that leads you to other resources that will encourage you to continue your learning in other places. And vocabulary, same thing. And again, I said in the introduction that background knowledge is really, really key to vocabulary. You may know the word and the word it means, but if you don't know all of the historical or social baggage surrounding that word, then it's going to be hard for you. So we've got a question like, how can I help my learner build her background knowledge so she can understand how vocabulary words relate to larger concepts? And then comprehension. And we really pay attention to comprehension strategies because a lot of people only teach learners to comprehend or to understand a particular text. And we don't do that. We are focusing on comprehension strategies so that learners will have strategies that they can use with any text to help them understand it better. And so how can I teach my learners to think like good readers do? We have something called Think Aloud, and so you actually share your thinking about when you're reading and your cognitive processes, that you verbalize them when you're going, and so that's just a really very effective technique. And again, all of these techniques and approaches and strategies are research-based. And so this is comprehension. So I think this is a chat box question here. So which topics are you excited about? And again, I hope if, you know, if you can't access the handouts and so can't see all of the handouts, please let me know.
I just want to point out that we will be sending, that I'm sending all the handouts after the webinar, just in case you're having trouble downloading it. Also, please answer this question in the questions box.
Oh, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'm having a little trouble with that. Okay, can you help me out there, sure. Nicole?
Yeah, no problem. People are writing, but I'm not seeing any responses yet.
Okay, so yeah. Oh, and I see. I work on Fluency. Let me see if I can. Oh, I work on Fluency. Okay, got it. Vocabulary and comprehension together. Good. Okay.
Okay, so you can see it?
I think so. I care about fluency and comprehension.
Yeah, you're looking.
Okay, yes, I figured out that if I click on it, it took me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. So it seems like maybe folks aren't really able to see the questions themselves. I don't know whether we have time. Probably not for me to go through them. Would it be helpful if we went back? Let's see. So if you can see on phonemic awareness. How can I know if my learner needs phonemic awareness practice? How can I start teaching my learner phonemic awareness? How can I help my learner perceive the different sounds that make up a word? How can I help my learner recognize the same sound in different words? How can I help my learner recognize which word doesn't belong in a list of words? How can I help my learner put sounds together to make words? How can I help my learner break down words into individual sounds? When a sound is removed from a word, how can I help my learner tell me what words remain? So that's just a few of the ones. In decoding, how can I know if my learner needs to improve her decoding skills? How can I start teaching my learner decoding skills? How can I help my learner use letter-sound relationships to help her read better? How can I help my learner analyze the letters and sounds in a word to help her read and spell better? How can I help my learner practice her decoding skills so they become more automatic? What kind of texts should I use to help my learner practice her decoding skills? How can I help my low-level learner with her immediate reading and writing needs? Fluency. How can I know if my learner reads with appropriate speed? How can I help my learner read with appropriate speed? Same thing for accuracy, and same thing for phrasing and expression. And the technique that research is absolutely certain, and those of us who have used it, we know that the strategy called guided repeated oral reading absolutely works to increase all aspects of fluency. And so we've got a lot of information on the 7 different ways to use guided repeated oral readings. And then we talk about readability. How do you know whether a text is at the right level for your student? Okay, and how do we show students that fluency is improving? And fluency, again, it sounds like not many of you are working on fluency now, but fluency of all the components of reading is the one component that you can actually get some pretty good, fast progress, even in one lesson. And it's progress that you can either videotape or audio tape your learner reading before you use the strategy of guided repeated oral reading and after, and see the difference, and you can show your learner the difference, and it's incredibly motivating. And so we talk about ways that you can look at that and help your learner be motivated. Okay. Vocabulary, which vocabulary words do I select from a text to teach to my learner? How can I teach my learner to use context clues to learn the meaning of words as she reads? How can I teach my learner how to use prefixes, suffixes, and base words to figure out the meaning of unknown words as she reads? How can I help my learner build her background knowledge so she can understand how vocabulary words relate to larger concepts? How can I help my learner increase her vocabulary by drawing connections between new words and words she already knows? How can I help my learner deepen her understanding of vocabulary words by making connections and discovering relationships between the meanings of words? And comprehension. How can I teach my learner where and how to find answers to comprehension questions in the text he's reading? How can I teach my learner to think like good readers do? How can I help my learner see how stories are organized as a way of helping him improve his comprehension and remember what he reads? How can I teach my learner how to identify and remember important parts of a text through summarization? And how can I teach my learner to make inferences or read between the lines so he begins to ask himself questions that demand higher level thinking? So just do those seem, maybe show of hands, do those seem like relevant topics to you? Are those things that you have also come across in your own tutoring and teaching? Nicole, can you see a show of hands, or?
Let me check. Yeah, quite a few people raise their hands.
Okay, good. Does anybody, and this is where you use your chat box, does anybody think of anything that's missing that should be added? Are there any questions that you have had with your learners that you don't see there? Go ahead and type those in. And then if you have some ideas for how you think you might use TutorReady, please go ahead and type them in and share them with us. Is everyone shy? Is nobody typing? Okay. See, I'm excited about the Phonemic Awareness and Fluency module. Excellent. I'm definitely going to include TutorReady for my tutors as a resource. Also, I will use the website myself to increase my overall knowledge. That's great. You know, we have found that programs are using this. They're actually assigning some parts of TutorReady and the videos that we'll see in a minute before people even come to the initial tutor training, or as a homework during the tutor training, or as in services. So it's never meant to replace face-to-face trainings. It's meant to supplement and augment and complement. As a trainer, I'm not quite sure how to respond to some of the questions addressed to tutors. Good point. So again, you know, you might think about, okay, you know, in my trainings, is there a way that I could use TutorReady? Is there a way that I can, you know, there's so much to cover in tutor trainings, and you know, some people have 5-hour trainings, some have 15-hour trainings, some have 20-hour trainings, and there's never enough time. And so is there a way that you could use TutorReady to complement what you do in a face-to-face training? Are there any modules in TutorReady that specifically address dyslexia? My students seems to be dyslexic. You know, we do, and I sort of shy away from talking about dyslexia because I think a lot of times people talk about dyslexia and it you know, there are lots of different learning disabilities and learning differences and that sort of thing. We do address this in a way in the videos and in TutorReady, not explicitly. We probably could have and should have done that more, but that was not the lens that we were using at the time, but we have been asked about that. Here's my thing about learning disabilities. So and I do a lot of teaching about how to work with adult learners with learning disabilities. So the key is repetition, repetition, repetition. You just need to do things over and over and over again. Lots of time to practice, lots of time to ask questions, lots of time to learn and remember, and you must model, you must explain the concept and the skill really, really well. Then you have to model it and show exactly how it's done. Then you do it together, and then the learner then is asked to practice more on their own with your support, gradually gaining independence. But everything that we talk about in TutorReady is explicit instruction, is good teaching. And so that is what works for students with learning disabilities. But the key is just more, 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 more. Okay, more explicit, more repetition, more explanation, more explicitness. So I hope that helps a little bit. That's a totally separate workshop, and I'd be happy to come back and do that sometime too. But and you can always contact me too if you'd like. I work on phonics to teach the students how to read the word and not memorize. Excellent. So some words, you know, can't be sounded out, and so they need to be taught with sight words. But yeah, a lot of our learners have just memorized words and really don't know how to sound them out, and so that's a great thing to work on. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So let's go on to talk about the videos that we've developed that are standalones. You can access them by themselves on YouTube, and you have some information on how to do that. But also they are embedded in the learning plans. And so you have, I think your fourth handout lists 50 of the videos that we have developed. But there are actually 61 videos now because we got some additional funding. And so the same folks that worked on TutorReady worked on the videos. And so there's a really, really nice correspondence there. And so they complement TutorReady. We used, you know, the same California library programs. We used actual learners and tutors in 2 library-based volunteer programs. And then my colleague Amy Prevedel and I also filmed ourselves working with some learners. But these are authentic learners and authentic tutors using the strategies that are recommended by research in TutorReady. And so we are looking towards phase 4 now, and we're hoping to get funding because we'd love to do a TutorReady for writing and videos for writing as well. But so Nicole, let's try to look at a sample video on Fluency. And for those of you who aren't as familiar with Fluency, this will give you a nice introduction to see, you know, what just one of the 7 guided repeated oral reading strategies is. And so as you watch the movie, if you could think about these questions: what might be new information? What strikes you as interesting? What questions, if any, does the video raise for you? And how might you use this type of video with your learner? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the video now. I just want to warn everyone that since we're doing this on the GoToWebinar platform, it's not going to be the smoothest video you've ever seen, but I promise you the regular videos are, you know, very well, you know, done, and the audio matches perfectly. But as you'll see it here, it's going to be a little bit choppy, and the audio might not match perfectly with the video. So I'll go ahead and pull that up now.
So Nicole and I discussed the pros and cons of showing the video here, and we decided that despite the technical difficulties, we really wanted you to see a video so that it would encourage you to go to it.
And Kathy, just stop me if you need to, okay?
Mom said there are 3 things I should always remember.
Fluency is the ability to read with appropriate speed, accuracy, phrasing, and expression. Good readers read at the same speed at which they speak. They correctly identify and pronounce the words they read. Good readers chunk words into meaningful phrases and use intonation and expression when they read out loud. Fluent reading is necessary for comprehension. Guided, repeated, oral reading helps improve fluency. You'll see a learner and a tutor practice this strategy in 5 different ways: reading to the tutor, duet reading, echo reading, cross-generational reading, recorded reading. You'll now watch a learner and a tutor practicing 2 guided, repeated, oral reading strategies at the same time. Duet reading, in which the tutor and the learner read a text together out loud, and cross-generational reading, where the learner prepares to read to a child. Duet reading is particularly effective for improving a reader's speed. Any text can be used with this strategy, but since one of the learner's goals is to read to her granddaughter, this pair is using a children's book for this lesson. Unless your learner has a similar goal, you'll use materials of interest to adults.
This next couple pages, I want to try a little different strategy, and it's called Duet Reading. You know what a duet is, like when you play side by side on the piano. We're going to read it together, but I'm going to read at my normal pace. Okay. I don't want you to feel bad if you can't keep up, but the point is for me to model for you what the right speed and phrasing and expression is. Okay. So you do your best to keep up, and if you have to skip a couple words and jump in later or whatever, just try and echo what I'm doing as best as you can as we read our little duet. Ready? Okay. It rained all night and the ground was soaked. We spent the entire day on the sidewalk. Hopscotch is a very dangerous game. I forgot my lunch today. I got so hungry that I ate my homework. My teacher made me write, I will not eat my homework 10 times. When I was finished, I ate that too. I snuck up on some kids in the park today. They didn't hear me coming. I wiggled up right between them and they screamed. I love when they do that. So what did he do? He snuck up on the playground and right in between their marbles, and he scared them, and he loved doing it. He got the reaction he wanted. Okay, and here, just like his dad ate the newspaper, he's eating his homework. I guess they really do like paper. And here, it rained all night. And why do you think they went out on the sidewalk? Do you know about that? No. I learned this. I noticed when it rains really hard, there's always a lot of worms after the storm outside, not in the ground. It's because their little tunnels get all flooded. They get all, it's too much water in the ground, so they come up so they can get air. Yeah, and then once the ground dries out, they go back under. But it is dangerous for them when they're out there on the sidewalk. Okay, so we're ready to try it again? Okay. It rained all night and the ground was soaked. We spent the entire day on the sidewalk. Hopscotch is a very dangerous game. I forgot my lunch today. I got so hungry that I ate my homework. My teacher made me write, I will not eat my homework 10 times. When I was finished, I ate that too. I snuck up on some kids in the park today. They didn't hear me coming. I wiggled up right between them and they screamed. I love when they do that. I love when they do that. Okay. Did that time feel better? Did you feel like you were faster that round?
A little bit, not much.
I noticed a difference.
I did.
I noticed a difference on this page for sure.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. And you're noticing little words that you need to practice. So we'll practice it again and see how it feels. And then you might actually find that when you do it by yourself after our third practice, that it's easier than you think. Okay. It rained all night and the ground was soaked. We spent the entire day on the sidewalk. Hopscotch is a very dangerous game. I forgot my lunch today. I got so hungry that I ate my homework. My teacher made me write, I will not eat my homework 10 times. When I was finished, I ate that too. I snuck up on some kids in the park today. They didn't hear me coming. I wiggled up right between them and they screamed. I love when they do that. Okay.
Okay.
This is your time now. So we've done it 3 times together, and we'll just see if it helps.
Okay.
If you like it.
It rained all night, and the ground was soaked. We spent the entire day on the sidewalk. Hopscotch is a very dangerous game. I forgot my lunch today. I got so hungry that I ate my homework. My teacher made me write, I will not eat my homework 10 times. When I was finished, I ate that too. I snuck up on some kids in the park today. They didn't hear me coming. I wiggled up right between them, and they screamed. I love when they do that. I could change.
Wow.
I heard, yeah, that was.
Uh-huh. And I don't think you felt confident even the 3rd time we were doing it together. You were getting a little frustrated.
Yeah.
But wow, when you did it by yourself, it was
I could even feel the and the up.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The expression was great. The speed was great.
Yeah, I did.
No words tripped you up. So would you like that
I like
technique
the first one first.
You still like the first technique, where you read to me and you just practice it by yourself. Okay, why do you think you didn't like doing it duet?
Because we have to do this at church, and I don't like it either. And he wants the whole church to read. And when they read, I hear it, and it knocks me off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's harder for you to process when you're hearing me.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's important to practice each guided, repeated, oral reading strategy by having your learner read the passage out loud at least 3 times. Provide guidance for how to improve fluency by assisting your learner when needed and modeling accurate, well-paced reading with appropriate phrasing and expression. The goal is for your learner to read as fluently as she speaks. You've seen a tutor do quite a bit of talking when explaining a new strategy. During most lessons, you and your learner would be equally talkative.
All right, Kathy, I'm going to pass the controls back to you.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
So it's sort of hilarious that it was a fluency video when we had some fluency issues. Oh, let's see. Okay, here we go. So yes, so I'm I didn't even think about that we had chosen a fluency video, but anyway, hopefully when you watch the videos on your own, that there won't be any lag. And hopefully you could, despite the lag, you could see that there was some good progress made, even just in that 10-minute tutoring session. So we have just a couple of minutes left, but would anybody like to comment on the video or the technique of duet reading, which is one of the 7 guided repeated oral reading techniques? But do you think the videos will be useful to you? What was new information? What struck you as interesting? What questions did the video raise? How do you think you might use the videos? How do you think your program might use the videos to increase tutors and teachers' skills? When is the best time to view the videos? Before, during, or after training? So this is where you can use your chat box. And, oops. Okay. Does anybody have any comments, questions, epiphanies after seeing the sample video? Does it look like people are typing, Nicole?
Yeah, we have a few answers there in the question box, if you want to.
Oh, well, and I did, but I don't know why. I don't know why I'm Not seeing them.
It just started popping up now.
Okay. Yeah. I might need to ask you to read those out.
Sure, no problem. I will.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got some. I'll just read out a sampling of it. Okay. I would agree that the videos will be helpful. I look forward to viewing the videos. It seems like a valuable resource. I will probably use them before my sessions. I like that the video showed me how to teach. Now Linda points out that she's always heard not to point while reading.
Oh, okay. So pointing is actually great as long as the your finger or whatever you're using is a fluid movement, not not a jumpy movement, because a lot of learners actually have trouble tracking their eye movements. The finger or having something running under the word in a smooth flowing manner actually helps track the eye movements to the text. So absolutely, that's a great strategy.
Okay, let's see. It looks like the videos would be very helpful. By seeing the videos, you can witness the validity of how a method truly works. I like the duet idea and the repeating 3 times with the goal of the individual reading alone to show improvement. This duet reading was a very good technique, and I'm going to use it with my learner. I like the way the tutor elicited the learner's own best strategy. Will definitely be useful when working with relative caregivers and the intergenerational tutoring program being put forth in my agency. It comes from Carmela. It seems like the duet works. I thought that the oral reading would inhibit fluency and comprehension in reading.
Yeah, and let me just say something about that the oral reading actually increases fluency, and it may not have been easy to see that in that particular rendition of the video, but we're not trying to work on comprehension when we're working on fluency. They're 2 separate things, and so we're working on speed, accuracy, phrasing, and expression, not focusing on comprehension. So of course we hope that the learner understands what she's reading, but we're trying for more fluent reading, and that's our objective for that particular lesson.
Okay, we've got a few other comments. Students could also benefit from seeing this when very low literacy students of different languages are concerned. It would show them what you are trying to do when you cannot communicate directions clearly.
Well, and that came up. That was not anything that we thought about when we were developing the videos, but we've heard that every time we've shown them, and so that's great, because part of what we need to teach our learners is how to be learners, right? And so this is not only is this helping to teach tutors and teachers, how putting the theory into practice and what does that actually look like, and I can see that, but it actually helps learners to see what it looks like to be learning and evaluating and self-regulating your own learning.
Okay, we have a question here. Do you ever show the videos to learners before the lesson?
Some tutors have, and they say that it's actually really helped them, because then they can see what the objective is, they can see what the method is, what the approach is, and they can, the learner then becomes the model, and modeling is very, very important in explicit instruction and learning. Great question. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. The video was great. Seeing an example of how someone else presents a lesson is very helpful. My student is an ESL learner. I wonder how the tutor would present a more complex adult level text.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I have higher level adult ESL students, and I have a classroom full of them. I have beginning and intermediate level students, and we use Fluency, we use guided repeated oral reading strategies all the time, and it is really helpful. It helps pronunciation, it helps intonation, it helps flow. I would highly recommend it for ESL students and even higher level.
Okay. The video will be useful after initial training, as you understand that repeated efforts help, and students need to understand the word phrasing to begin with. And then the last one is, you just answered my question regarding duet reading and fluency, not comprehension.
Okay, great. And one last thing that I would say is that, you know, we always, at the end of the videos, we ask the students to evaluate the strategy and the lesson. And sometimes, honestly, it was like pulling teeth to get them to answer because nobody had ever asked them before. And that's, you know, sad to me because, you know, your learner is obviously the best person to evaluate what's working and what isn't working and what they like and what they don't like as much. And in that particular video, it was interesting because even though the learner didn't like that strategy, that is the strategy that she needed because one of her goals was to read children's books to her grandchild. And she needed to be able to do that you know, fluently and with expression, and duet reading is especially helpful for modeling expression, phrasing and expression. And so sometimes, you know, just having that conversation, I know you don't like it, I know it's uncomfortable for you, but it really is the strategy that's going to work for you. Well, thank you so much for your questions and your comments, and I hope that you're able to use both TutorReady and the videos. And remember, the videos are embedded into TutorReady, but you can also access them on their own. And Nicole, are they on the FLC website as well, or how do you?
TutorReady videos, we don't actually have them right now as a resource, but we do have them actually on our online tutor training course.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
You know, if you want to contact me, I can send you all the videos. I believe they'll have the videos in their handouts, correct?
Well, you know what? Now, yes, there is a link that's written down, and they'll have the handouts electronically. So yeah, they can get there from the handouts. The one that lists the 50 videos by topic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry we went a little bit over. I appreciate your participation, and if you ever have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you all for joining us today. I do want to let you know that you will receive a follow-up email to this webinar. You should be getting it in about an hour. Please, it's going to be coming from GoToWebinar, not from me. Please fill out the survey about the webinar today. Also on that email, you will find a link that brings you to all the handouts that you had today. So again, please fill out that survey. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kathy, for doing a great job. And once more, I'd like to thank the Department of Education, Division of Career and Adult Education for their generous support and making this webinar possible. All right. Thank you,
Nicole.
Thank you all. You have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.